Hey there, MJ traders and investors. It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Also, home to the best MJ community. It is Monday, May 13th. Hope you had a great weekend and hope you had a fantastic Mother's Day and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Celebrated yesterday, my partner and I. This was the first year of her being a mother, so it was a special one for us. And Father's Day not too far away, so that'll be the first one to celebrate, and looking forward to that. But I hope you had a great weekend. In this video, we're going to be discussing Auxly. We're going to take a look at the XLY chart as well. They just hit their Q1 2024 earnings this morning. They did miss in terms of estimates. There was no estimate for EPS, but they did miss on their revenue. So the stock was down today, but it's just been ranging between that 7 cents, between 7 and 5 cents. But it had a nice move there, coming off about 1 penny all the way up to 7 cents. And I think this is a stock that could really be a turnaround story. I think if there's one small cap that can pull it off and turn things around, it's going to be Auxly. And I'm full disclosure, I'm a shareholder. I own shares in the company, and you should never buy or sell anything based on anything that I say or write. This is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Before we get to it, you can smash the like. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff. You'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. Also, you can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. The handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. I did share it out on X earlier this morning, and most people probably have already gone through the report if you're interested in Auxly, but I'll just go through some of the key highlights here. But before we jump into the highlights, their revenue was $25.24 million for the quarter, and they were forecasting $30.2 million. So there was a pretty big drop off there and miss in terms of revenue. Like I said, no forecast for earnings per share, came in at negative 0.03, so a small loss. And then if we take a look at the prior year, it came in, revenue is 23.97. So it is up a little bit from, a little over about a million, 1.2 million or so over the previous, from this year over year. But I think, a lot of the LPs, a lot of the Canadian companies are getting rid of these types of revenue that just aren't profitable, right? We know that in Canada there was overcapacity, there's high excise taxes. Actually, that's something that I wanted to take a look at real quick here before I forget. Excise taxes, yeah. So the revenue from sales of MJ products, 38 million, and they paid 13 million to excise taxes. So Organigram paying almost 1/3 of their revenue going to excise taxes as well. So these companies really have to, it's not all their fault. It's the high taxation. And I think that's by design. The government in Canada is saying, oh, mom and pop can get involved as well. But, it's death by a thousand cuts, right? They tax you into oblivion. And meanwhile, it's the big companies that have all this financial backing, from big, corporations, and the public companies, the large caps, that are going to be able to weather the storm, right? Because they basically have unlimited funding. Look at Canopy getting billions of dollars from Constellation Brands, right? It's the mom and pop shop. It's the little guy and gal that can't sustain, and the longevity is just not there, right? Because they don't have the funding. And then especially with regards to traditional banking, if you're not a big corporation, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get access to funding that easily, right? Not as easy as they would. So it really is, in my opinion, just to make it look like a mirage, right? It's all smoke and mirrors, no pun intended. It's meant to look like, it's a level playing field, and there's, social equity, and, everybody is supposed to be given the same. They have like a limited amount of stores that you can have and things like that to try to curb, all the big corporations. But at the end of the day, it's this high taxation. And I think it's by design. It's to weed out, no pun intended, all of the small players and filter all the money back to the big players, which we know they're the ones that spend all the lobbying money as well with regards to politicians and whatnot. It's pretty much bought and paid for. But they did have a first quarter 2024 record quarter. So this was overall a great report in my opinion, even though they did have a slight miss in terms of the revenue. But overall, a great quarter. And before we jump into the highlights, I just wanted to remind everybody they announced expansion into Quebec and also launching new transformative pre-roll and vape innovation. So I've already done a couple of reviews on them as well, but their new Back 40 vapes are pretty sweet, all-in-one vape. And it's rechargeable, disposable, and then the pre-rolls. So I'll be covering those as well. I'll be keeping an eye out for those. But all of the information is in Canadian dollars. And then we'll go through the highlights here. So it was the best Q1 in history across key metrics of revenue, margin, and adjusted EBITDA. Record net revenues for fiscal Q1 of $25.2 million, an increase of 5% compared to the same period in 2023. And achieved gross margin of MJ inventory sold of 38% for the quarter. So that's definitely a decent, somewhere around that 40-50 is considered, amazing. And then anything over that is just, absolutely incredible, but 38 still not bad actually. And then 25.24 million. Record adjusted EBITDA fiscal Q1 of 2.2 million, an improvement of 1,523% of 2.1 million year over year. So they continued to reduce SG&A through ongoing efforts to decrease overhead costs, resulting in an 11% decline quarter over quarter and a 15% decline compared to the same period in 2023. So again, a lot of people and a lot of companies trying to cut down on costs as much as possible. Further strengthening its balance sheet with Imperial Brands PLC conversion of over 123 million of debt into shares. That resulted in 19.8% ownership of the company and completed the extension of the Auxly Leamington credit facility between its syndicate of lenders led by BMO to December 31st, 2025, with an option to extend further year by making a 2.5 million principal repayment. It also maintained its top 10 LP position in Canada by market share based on total recreational sales, securing the number 6 LP position with 5% of the total market. So again, we're number 6 LP, 5% of the total market, expansion into Quebec. They are very good with regards to the 2.0 and the edibles, pre-rolls. That's kind of their bread and butter, and the vapes. So I think the company's definitely worth the risk, in my opinion. You can check out my whole MJ portfolio with percentage breakdown. I go through all of that in there. It's a very small position in my MJ portfolio. I think it's only like 1.5%, 2% now. But I'll be letting that ride, right? It's either going to go to zero or I'm going to be holding it for a very, very long time. We could potentially see Auxly, rebound, could it go back to all-time highs? Maybe. It's probably going to take a long time, but, they're also a potential buyout target as well. They maintained their leadership position in the competitive vapor category, as I mentioned. Back 40 remains the number 1 non-infused pre-roll brand in Ontario. And that's pretty much all I wanted to mention there. In terms of cash, so also their weighted average shares outstanding is now 1,016,839,478 shares. And then we had net revenue, we had their gross margins, 38%. It was 37% in March 31st, 2023. So a change of 1%. And cash equivalents, 13 million and change, just over 13 million. And the year prior was 15.6 million. So slightly down, but great that we had Imperial Brands convert that debt into equity. I think that's all I wanted to mention. As you can see here, net income loss, 26 million, or per common basic and diluted share was negative 0.03. And then it was negative 0.01 in March 31st, 2023. So slight, a little bit worse in terms of EPS compared to the year prior. And they haven't been doing any conference calls as well. They said that they were basically suspending that until further notice, but it's fine in my opinion if they're just gonna, they got a lot of work to do. They got to turn the ship around, and they just need to keep their head down and buckle down and start executing. So be it. But we'll see if they start to ramp up the conference calls again in the future. But again, I think, obviously not downplaying the fact that there's a lot of risk here. There's a lot of reassurance from the conversion of Imperial Brands into equity. But at the end of the day, there's no guarantees. So I would, if you're like me, if you want some exposure, if you want to take a position, just make sure that, you're only investing what you're willing to lose. And, it's a YOLO position for me. So you have to size accordingly, right? I'm not going to be putting, 20% of my net worth or 20% of my MJ portfolio value into this, right? It's only a percent or two of my whole MJ portfolio. And I'll be holding it, like I said, for a very long time. But you can see here, Forecasting 30.2 million, came in at 25.24, as I mentioned, and they didn't have any EPS estimates on TradingView either. So it's a very smaller name. It's a smaller cap name, right? So there's not a whole lot of analyst coverage, which is why we're not seeing that. But one thing I mentioned is that we're more than likely going to see monthly consolidation at some point. We still have yet to change the monthly trend. We still need the higher low and then the higher high. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw monthly consolidation. We're at the low of the month this month right now, but we've just been ranging really ever since 7 cents for the last few weeks, couple of months. So it's just been that range right there, right from about 7 to 4.5 cents. And we actually have a quadruple bottom at 4.5 cents. So I think we could see a brief higher low somewhere around, somewhere around that 4 to 3 cent area. There's a lot of there's a lot of support in that 3 cent, 4 cent area as well. You can see here we have the 100-day moving average, the 100 weekly moving average at 3 cents, so 2.9 cents. We also have the 100-day moving average at 2.8 cents. So I think somewhere around that 3 to 3.5 cent mark would be a nice entry for a monthly higher low. And we're also seeing a little bit of cause for concern here on the stochastic and the MACD. We're seeing bear crosses here lining up, which would add more confluence and probability that we're more than likely going to see monthly consolidation at some point very soon. If it's not this month, I'd be surprised if it wasn't this month, because we would have to lose 4.5 cents to start monthly consolidation. We're very, very close. So like I said, I would be very surprised if it wasn't this month, but if not this month, then a good chance that we see monthly consolidation next month. And again, if you're looking for entries, I'm not telling you to buy, sell, or hold, but should be a nice entry somewhere around that 3 to 4 cent area for a monthly higher low. Give us that higher low and then look to change the trend on the monthly time frame and see that higher high and monthly uptrend. Just like most of its peers, we know Cron, BFF, SNDL, High Tide, all confirming monthly uptrends. Next, probably going to be Tilray, then OGI, then CGC, ACB by the looks of the charts. And Auxly could be really along the pack with the rest of them. So it could start monthly consolidation this month and then confirm the monthly uptrend next month. So we'll see what happens, but we're gearing up for the first ever monthly EMA 12 and 26 bull cross as well. But it's quite a ways away before we see those cross. So I would say that we more than likely come back down. Like I said, back test EMA 12 there at 3.4 cents, 3.5 cents. Tighten up, get those moving averages and exponential moving averages a bit closer so that they cross. Give us that monthly higher low and the monthly uptrend all in one go is ideally what we would like to see. And we just had a golden cross as well, which that was the first time since, I think it was since November of 2020. Yeah, if we go back here, it was December and November of 2020 when we had that golden cross lining up, and then we had the death cross, brutal bear market, and now, like I said, the first golden cross since that December 2020 timeframe. So it's looking good. We just need to get that one piece of the puzzle left to do, which is we just need to confirm that higher low and higher high on the monthly, get back into a monthly uptrend, and at that point, it's all systems go. But going into there, let me know what you think of let me know what you thought of the report. What do you think of this video? If you think it's a good turnaround story, if it's something that you hold in your portfolio, are you looking to add a bit more, or your bag's packed pretty much like me? I'm not 100% sure yet, but I might nibble a little bit, maybe a few $100, $250, $500 or something like that, a little bit more into that position if we get somewhere around that 3 to 4 cent area. But hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, smash the like. I would appreciate it. It's Rod with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us in the pursuit of wealth, and we'll see you again on the next video.